Hello everybody, this is Kevin here and I've got a new video today. This one I'm pretty excited to do. This one is going to be very simple, very straightforward, very basic. And essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lies in the media and coming from those in the government that we are in the midst of an economic recovery, and I will destroy them with common sense, and I will do it in less than 10 minutes. So let's get started. There are a handful of people who have actually had the nerve to come out and say that the economic recession, I would call it a depression, that we've been in for the last 2 years is over. Case in point would be the chief counterfeiter at the Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke. He says, it's most likely over. Okay, so we know what the establishment says. They say it's most likely over. How do they come to this conclusion? Well, let's step back and assess exactly how the whole mess came about. It came about by having too much credit that was too cheap. And that caused individuals and it caused businesses to leverage themselves to the hilt. And then all of a sudden, the bills came due. Uh-oh. And they can't pay any of it back. And this is what led us into TARP and the bank bailout and stimulus and this, that, and the other thing. And the way all of those things were sold was, yes, we need to get rid of these toxic assets. We need to clear the bank's books of these derivatives and these toxic assets. Okay, so we know what the problem was. We know how we got there. So what was the solution? The solution was to print a bunch of money. That's right, the monetary base has skyrocketed. And guess who's on the hook for it? Taxpayers. Okay, so essentially what you have is you have a bunch of businesses who leverage themselves up and then couldn't cover their losses. So the Federal Reserve and the government comes in and decides we're just going to print up a bunch of money, we're going to give you a bunch of money, we're going to send you all these lines of credit, and we'll just pass a bill on to the taxpayers. Okay, so you've got too much credit as the cause, and the solution being more credit. Okay, all right, so I've probably just totally destroyed their argument that everything is better now, but I will still give you a common sense, real world example of why they are full of it and they are lying to you when they say this. Okay, I'm driving down the road, and I've got my window down, the wind blowing in my face. Oh, this is great, listening to some oldies, singing along to it. Boom! Whoa, what happened? Oh, I've got a flat tire. Oh, dear Lord, what am I going to do? So I pull off to the side of the road, put on my hazard lights, of course, get out of the car, and I see, yep, sure enough, there's a flat tire. What the heck am I going to do about this flat tire? Oh, I've got an idea. Here's what I can do with this flat tire. I can take the flat tire off of my car, and I see a car over there, and I'll go put it on that car. And then everything's going to be better. That doesn't pass a sniff test for me. Regardless of how you look at it, the end result of me doing that is somebody still has a flat tire. Okay. I'll give you another real world example. You got a 5-year-old kid, his room's a mess. Mom and dad say, hey son, you got to clean up that room. So what does a kid do? He goes into his room, he closes his door, sitting there looking at that mess. Oh man, what the heck am I going to do with all this stuff? I got an idea. I'm going to put it all under my bed. So 45 minutes, he's pushing all the mess under his bed, and and he looks at it. Wow, man, this room looks great. The mess is gone. It's under my bed. He goes out, tells mom and dad, hey, mom and dad, look, my room is clean. Is it really clean? Or did he just move the mess and now make it the bed's mess because it's all under the bed? Okay. So, you basically get the point here. All that the government is doing when they tell you that recovery is imminent is they are telling you that their act of taking one person's mess and giving it to another means all is right with the world. They have essentially papered over the problem, quite literally, because they just pull that lever at the Treasury and the printing presses, bam, start kicking into high gear, and they print a bunch of paper, and they start, you know, doling out the paper, and there's a little mess there. Let me put a dollar bill over that. Oh, more mess. Let me put a dollar bill over here too. Oh, look at this. This is wonderful. I've got this big old mess here, and essentially what I have done is I have taken a bunch of worthless paper, covered the mess, much like the bed in the 5-year-old example, and it's all miraculously better. No, it is not better. The only way to fix a mess, the only way to fix a problem is to address the root cause. In the case of the flat tire, how would I fix that mess? I'd go buy another tire, or I'd put a spare on my car. How about with the 5-year-old? What would I do? Quite simply, I would actually clean the room, not move the mess under the bed. Now, what would you do if you were the federal government or the Federal Reserve or the Treasury, and you had a bunch of banks that had leveraged themselves to the hilt and then couldn't cover their losses? The answer, as we learned from the 5-year-old bed example and the car example, is not to print a bunch of paper to make it look like the leveraging that they did wasn't so bad. What you do is you get the hell out and let those banks purge their balance sheets of those bad investments. Make them disappear. They still exist. This is the key point. They still exist. Those toxic assets still exist. All the Federal Reserve and the government have done is papered over them. Until they are gone, a sustainable recovery cannot happen. As long as the kid's mess is under the bed, that room will never be clean. As long as that flat tire is on a car, whether it be mine or somebody else's, they can still not drive that car. It's very simple. People think about economics and they say, ooh, man, that's too complicated for me. And you know what? I was guilty of that myself. But I challenged myself because I started to sense that, it might not be so complicated after all. And then I learned, if you employ common sense, rational thought, economics, just like anything else, can be made very, very simple. So, what's the moral of this discussion? The moral is this. If the government tells you that everything is better, it's not. It's not. They've papered over the mess. Papering over the mess might give the illusion that things are getting better, but I can guarantee you the average person is not better off right now. And until the mistakes that led to this problem are totally purged from the system, there will not be a sustainable recovery. It cannot happen. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be doing more in the very near future.